Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the New Earth Love podcast. In this podcast, we have conversations between the masculine and the feminine to build more trust and understanding. And through these conversations, then also building more love and peace in the world. Today, I'm sitting here with the wonderful Carissa. Would you like to introduce yourself briefly to the people who may be not aware of who you are?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here, for doing the work that you're doing in the world, for bringing these conversations to life, for illuminating the new reality that we are weaving. And I feel just really privileged to be contributing to that conversation, to be a part of the architecture through voice, through connection, through soul that is weaving together this new construct of reality that we are all participating in. And so my name is Carissa Johnsen. I am a psycho spiritual guide, a channel, a writer. Fundamentally, I am a human. I am a human incarnated in this experience that is just really wanting to show up, to play big, to play full out, to be in connection, to be a part of community, to make a difference in the world, recognizing that I, as well as you, every single listener on this podcast has a signature, has a unique energy signature that is fundamental to the symphony, to the orchestra, to the harmony that is the song of the new earth, of the universe. And so to have this conversation feels like such a gift because we are all participating in it. We are all a part of this reality. So I really feel inspired right now around helping people activate their power, step into their personal leadership to really bring forth prosperity through peace, really integrating their masculine and their feminine through the sacred journey of going from the head to the heart and recognizing that we are all doing this together. So I'll pause there. I'm happy to go into my journey, but ultimately I'm just a human and I'm so excited about what's happening in the world right now. And I know it looks like so much is crumbling and happening. And at the same time, this is what many of us incarnated for. I imagine the people that are here, that are listening, or that are stumbling into this. Maybe they're not followers, but they're like, how did I get here? You're here for a reason, not only just on this podcast, but in this incarnation. You are a light worker, you are a way shower, you are somebody who specifically has a mission to show up during this time in your unique way, in your unique expression. You are the divine emanating through your specific vessel. And now is the time to express, to be alive, to come together, and to be your authentic self in a journey, in a place, in a time that is craving authenticity, that is craving purpose and passion and aliveness. So we get to be on this journey together.
Deep breath. Thank you. That was awesome. Thank you for bringing all of you here. I love that. And there's so many points I could touch on. Um, I'm a human. Yeah. How to be fully human and fully divine. And the song of the new earth. You mentioned that. Yeah. Singing the song of the new earth. Mm, wow. I'm blown away by your introduction. The Yeah, you have been touching on a few topics that we wanted to talk about, like before hitting record, we were like having a chat and um, feeling into where we can dive in. Mm, you mentioned purpose, alignment, authenticity, and yeah, something that I would just love to go deeper into that. Like, how can we be in alignment with our hearts? Yeah, going from the mind to the heart, which is more of Mm, yeah, even like a oracular state where we don't question so much, right? And how can we be embodied in our passion and be successful at the same time? Because I
Mm.
see that happening for myself, for the people around me, and a lot in spiritual communities, in big spiritual communities in Thailand, in Bali, in Tenerife, in the Canary Islands, for example, where I've lived for a while. So many people do their passion but have some kind of, I would call it light worker persecution imprint, that they
Mm,
don't really step into their power. So
yeah.
what would you
Mhm.
say to that?
This is a beautiful question. And I think that this is ultimately the paradigm of reality that we are deconstructing, that it's one or the other, that we have to be totally masculine or totally feminine. We have to choose a niche. We are either successful and rich, or we are in devotion to the divine and we are poor. We are black or we are white. We are this or we are that. It's like when we come back to the recognition of wholeness, of integration, that there's this beautiful gray area that we get to play in. And so ultimately, I'll share a little bit of my journey so people have a little context into where my come from is, because going through the mystics initiation that I went through in 2021 ultimately gave me this transmission that it's a both and conversation. And I think this is why people who are like us, and I say like us in a way of like who want to do good in the world, but also are like, I get to steward abundance. I get to build land projects. I get to do this thing when I have the resource, as I have the power. Like it's not wrong to have power. It's not wrong to have wealth or influence, right? We just have this construct of reality where we've been shown a different imprint, where the people in power, in wealth, in influence have abused it, and we associate it with that. We're like, I don't want to be like that. But the new earth is rewriting all of these stories, is really telling a new story, is really picking up a new book and saying, we get to tell it. We are the new ancestors. We get to write an entirely new architecture of reality right now. And so the transmission that I have for humanity is around sacred success. And what occurred in 2021 was, I'll paint the picture. My business was inching towards $1 million. I was living in a penthouse in San Diego. I was in magazine spreads. I had sold out private coaching. I was hosting retreats. I had a lot of money. I had the penthouse. I was doing photo shoots. I had all of the things that society told me would make me happy. And I wasn't. And I remember really sitting with myself and walking down the stairs one day, and I had this vision of me and looking at myself in the mirror and realizing that I didn't recognize the woman in front of me. I didn't know what she liked. I didn't know what she loved. I didn't know what she did outside of work. And what I ultimately felt sad around was that she was so unhappy. She had spent years climbing this mountain to realize that she was alone, that she had hit these pinnacles of success and was ultimately unfulfilled and was depleted and was under-resourced and was confused about how this could be. And I started to have flashbacks from that moment. Something shifted in my consciousness that opened up something for me where I started remembering aspects of my childhood that were repressed. I had significant trauma that became illuminated, that really showed me why I had mistrust with people, why I felt like I had to be in a toxic masculine place, why I never felt safe. No matter how much money I had, no matter how many clients were validating my worth, no matter how beautiful of a home I lived in, I never felt safe. And little by little, my nervous system couldn't hold the success that I had because the foundation that it was built upon was distortion. It was collective distortion. It was personal distortion. It was fear. My entire identity, my entire business, all the money that I had was built on scarcity, was built on fear, was built on a fundamental belief that I am not safe in the world. And so all of these things that I build, that will keep me safe. No one will know that I'm struggling if I hide behind this image. No one will know that I'm not actually fulfilled if I just make more money. And this is often what we're told. More is better. Look this way, you'll be happy. And I had those things, and I wasn't. And so little by little, my nervous system started to collapse under the pressure, kind of like we're seeing now with the world. It's like the infrastructure, the energetic infrastructure is not able to sustain this because it's not in alignment with God. It's not in alignment with the divine. It's not in alignment with love and the ultimate capital T truth. And everything that is not will crumble, will be dismantled. And so I went on a 2-year shamanic initiation, mystics journey where every aspect of my psyche and ways in which I built my relationships, my money, my business on distortion was revealed to me. I sat with every plant medicine. I worked with teachers. I studied shamanism. I traveled. I did all of these things. And I ultimately lost, quote unquote, lost everything. From having a near $1 million business to not being able to take on clients because I didn't have the ability to hold space for them because it wasn't built on truth. It wasn't built on love. It was built on a desire to prove myself. And what was revealed was that peace is the ultimate prosperity. What we're seeking is actually the end of seeking. That the success imprint that we've been told is one of emptiness. That success isn't actually inherently wrong. It's just the energetics in which there's been a consciousness that's been infused in that paradigm of reality. So that needed to deconstruct. So the last from 2021 to 2023, my entire reality crumbled. I nearly lost everything. And in losing everything, I realized that I am everything. I get to be happy, period. I get to be fulfilled, period. I am abundance. I am abundance. I am the universe. I am connected with God's source, period. And it took me nearly losing everything to realize that I am everything. And that is the ultimate safety. So I circle back. I say this because that's what people are looking for in success. They're looking for safety. They're looking for love. They're looking for validation. And that's the current imprint. That's the current paradigm. We have a lot of those distortions in money also. The thing is not inherently wrong. It's the energetic architecture that we are collectively agreeing to. It's a collective consciousness. Everything has a consciousness. It's the collective agreement that we have around money. It's the collective agreement that we have around success. But as people have these mystical initiations, these shamanic moments of like, whoa, that's not the paradigm that I want to live in. We become the trailblazers. We become the way showers. We become the people that say, we get to write this differently. We get to tell a new story. We get to write the new divine union imprint that relationships are sacred, that the rituals get to be different. Our relationship with money gets to be different. So we get to go first. So ultimately, losing everything made me realize that it didn't make me or break me. I know who I am with money. I know who I am without money, and it is the same person. Money and success will only amplify who you already are. And what it did was it amplified all of the ways in which I felt unsafe in the world. It amplified all of the ways in which I outsourced my power to something outside of me. And until we have a new transmission, we have a new energy, we have people who are offering new imprints of what's possible, it's going to continue to crumble. And we're going to continue to write a new story. So success and spirituality are synonymous. They are not separate. It is a part of the same consciousness that created all of us. The more that we demonize success, the more that we demonize money, the more that we disempower ourselves to reach our potential, to ultimately raise the consciousness of humanity. Because I know really rich, amazing people who are building land projects. I know incredibly spiritually poor rich people. So it's not about wealth. It's not about success. It's not about any of these things. It's about what is the consciousness that we want to hold. How are we not looking, how are we recognize that these things are not separate? And the more we live in that reality of separateness, that's scarcity. That's not unity consciousness. That's not Christ consciousness. That's not the reality that we are here to create. So ultimately, it takes one. It takes one moment. It takes one breakthrough. It takes one breath. It takes one new thought. Every thought that we think is electrical. It is bringing new life to the form of our entire paradigm, of this entire reality. So as we continue to explore what we want this to mean, we get to create it. We are creating it right now. And all of these things are neutral. So if we get to decide collectively, all we have to do is come into agreement. How do we want this to be? What is this new world that we are creating? And as we all begin to agree, As we all come into resonance and coherence, that becomes the architecture of this new reality. But the thing that we need to recognize is it has to come from unity. It has to come from togetherness. And if we are trying to prove ourselves, if we are coming from hierarchy, if we are coming from, I need to be better because I have this penthouse, I have this Range Rover, because nobody can see me, because I'm suffering and I'm struggling, because I don't want people to see me vulnerably and authentically, we're not going to come into coherence. So we're not free until we're all free. And that's ultimately what I think is going to help us shift into this entirely new reality.
Hmm. Another deep breath. Thank you. It's amazing all the things that you're bringing here, and again, so many things I could dive into. Like, I resonate a lot with your story. For me, it was also around 2020, 21. I lived in the Canary Islands, close by the beach, married. I was kite surfing. I had a successful business as well, not towards a million, but let's say from the outside perspective, like highly successful. And I burned out hard. I was also looking for validation, collecting trophies on the shelf, like having a successful YouTube channel, which is about macrame jewelry, by the way, in German. Uh, and then a book contract about the same topic, and just like doing too many things. And as you said, I can totally resonate with that, trying to get to love. And then I left a relationship. I was married. I left a 12-year relationship. I left the place where I was. I quit the jobs that I've created. I just didn't resonate with them anymore. And then there was this like blank sheet and an emptiness that followed. And what I resonate a lot with in your journey is as well this finding myself in love and trust first before taking action.
Mhm.
And that's really something I remind myself regularly of, that when I'm feeling tensed up because I want to achieve something, like now I don't want to achieve for validation. I want to serve. And when I want that super bad, then it doesn't happen. And then it's usually also the validation part that's somewhere running in the bag. And if I remind myself, like, okay, look at the people, look at the things that you do in your life that fill me with love, that fill me with trust, and then slow down. Like, I'm a projector in human design. So one of the biggest things that I remind myself constantly is to slow down in a world that speeds up, to be extra slow, to slow down 200% more, and trust that from that grounded space, only beauty can arise, only divine success can arise, because the control cannot be there. Like, I was a math teacher as well. That was the first thing I did. And so I had like 25 students a week, and I did this YouTube channel and the book, and it was just so much time management. I played basically Tetris with my agenda, everything booked. And when I then burned out, I was like, okay, now I have a free day without any plan, and I had no clue what to do, and I would collapse. I didn't know if I want pizza or pasta for dinner. And it, I think it needs this scattering of an identity that is not ourselves ultimately, to crack the shell, so to say, to find the core of what it is. And sacred success, I would love to dive deeper into that in a more, let's say, practical way. What can
Sure.
people do? So what I brought already is like, okay, can you find the things that we are hunting for sometimes, that our ego is hunting for? Being recognized, being loved, being safe, and feeling peace is also something that you brought up. um, that we start with that. How can I create that now, so that I don't try to get there? Because ultimately, the frequency I'm in now is what I get more of in the future. So hunting for something in the future that is not here yet doesn't work. That's not how manifestation works. Um, what else is coming to you, Carissa, in terms of practicality? Let's say, like, what
Mhm.
practical advice can you give our listeners to embody sacred success and to bring it forward, to bring your mission to the world?
Yeah. I love this question because even though I'm super feminine and spiritual, I'm also that I'm like, that's why I'm like, I'm human. I like love being on earth. I love bringing things into form. I love taking action. I love practicality and logic also. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. So I'm always like wondering, how can I bring this into my life? How does this make sense for me? So thank you for grounding that. A couple things come to mind for me. So when we're thinking about success, it can be very easy, like we look at the outcome. What do I want to create? What do I want to bring forth? And some of the ways in which we create that vision are automatic. We still have the remnants of what success should look like. So ultimately, something that I love that you touched on, and I'll make it more practical in a moment, is really sitting with yourself in contemplation and asking yourself, what do I want? What does God, the divine creator, want to do through me? My specific divine design. What is that made for? Versus just be like, oh, that looks good. That person's doing that. Like we can get caught up in the social media, Instagram success. So it does require us to slow down, to go inward, to really be with what's the vision that I am creating and less about thinking about it and feeling like utilizing your body as the tuning fork, feeling into different timelines. What does it feel like to create a life where I can travel and live in Bali for 3 months out of the year? What does it feel like to write books and to channel wisdom? What does it feel like to be on stages and tune in to what it is that you feel like you might want to create or you think you might want to create and come into the feeling? Come into the energy, come into the frequency and the resonance and experience how it feels in your body. This is a daily practice that I do every morning in the day. I tune into my system and I ask myself, how do I want to feel today? What is it that my body is feeling right now? And how can I be with my system? How can I move emotions that want to be moved? How can I set an intention and hold that intention in everything that I do? Before I got on this podcast, I set an intention. I say a prayer. Before I eat dinner, I pray over my food. Before I send an email, I'm thinking about the person on the other end. So, what gives us the ability to be in an intention and live in intention is to tune into the overall vision and to bring that into the body and to tune into the energy of the things that you're doing in the world. When you're making plans, when you're meeting with somebody who might be a client, tune into how that relationship, that chemistry, that resonance feels. It might be a huge contract and you're like, wow, this is a really big project. I should totally do this. But are you actually tuning into what it feels like to work with this person? Your body doesn't lie. Energy never lies, and it's always communicating to us. So, to make this a little bit more practical too, when people come to me, they ultimately want to connect with their intuition. So, it can come through spirit guides, through angels, through ancestors, all of that. Ultimately, these are all channels directing towards the same thing. So, when people want to understand, but I don't know what my intuition is telling me, I don't know how to trust myself, you can make it practical by setting a sacred space for yourself and one day, tuning in, lighting a candle, setting an intention of in this moment, I am declaring that I'm going to understand the channel of communication and the ways in which God, the divine, my intuition is communicating through me. Some people are very clairvoyant, like I get a lot of vision. Some people are very clairaudient. Some people get clairsentience, they feel it in their body, right. So everybody's intuition is communicating with them differently. Ultimately, the body, there's a lot of data points, right? So we kind of have that solar plexus knowing of like, I shouldn't walk down that street. But when you really want to get deeper with it, set a sacred space, hold the intention and prayer of I'm communicating with my intuition. I am building a relationship over time that's going to support me in making decisions in my life that keep me in alignment and then ask, like, go into a meditative deep theta state. And you can do this over time. Like you might not get anything the first time, but this is a muscle that you're building. And ask your body, ask your system, just say, show me what a yes is. Not what it
Mm.
feels like, not what like show me what a yes is. And you might get a flash of a picture of something. You might get a color of something if you're very clairvoyant. You might get like a major expansive feeling of like, wow, something really opens up. Your body might kind of go to the side a little bit. Your body, you might just feel, you might get a taste in your mouth. Some people have it's called clair um I can't remember the tongue one, but it's like taste. It's
Mhm.
clair. Do you know what it is? I forget.
No, let's call
But
it
you
clear
sometimes
tasting.
people taste things in their mouth. So that, and then you ask what a no is. So you might move to a different side. You might move forward. You might see a color. You might hear a
Mhm.
song. So let that be your language. And then for a week or a couple weeks or a month, let that be your language. So when you get up in the morning and you want to dress in a certain way, ask your body like, is this in alignment for me to wear this today? And just practice with food, practice with clothing, practice in that way so you can stay in alignment, so you can learn that language of your body, of your intuition, so that when you're making bigger decisions about moving across the country or working with a client or launching a new offer, you have this language, you have this way of communicating and you just get to trust yourself. You get to quote unquote make mistakes and learn like, oh, I actually realized that I did have an inner knowing because some people are claircognizant and they just know. So they don't get a lot of visual representations. They don't get auditory anything. They
Mhm.
just know. They just have a clear knowing. So that's an element of how I would make this practical
Mhm.
is really bringing in that intention. Really, when you're creating something, creating ritual around it, creating intention around it, offering prayers to what you're doing so that you are checking in, that you're not just creating from automatic behavior. You're not just creating from the old paradigm of success, or even more importantly, old version of you. Because I know as I'm relaunching things right now in my own business, I immediately go to, but this worked in the past. I know
Mhm.
that people like this versus what wants to come through me now. So it does take that slowness. It does take that intentionality. I'm happy to offer more practicality, but I want to pause there because that's one of the
Mhm.
simplest and most profound ways that you can stay in alignment and create sacred success is when you slow down, you tune in, you build this relationship with yourself, with higher guidance, with God, with the divine, so that becomes your open channel, your way of communicating so that as you're making decisions, as things are coming through you, you have this language, you have this stream of consciousness, you have this connection.
Thank you. I would like to throw two things in to add. I I mean I work a lot in the, let's say, relationship area of coaching, and I 100% resonate with your approach that the answers are in the body, and what is my yes and what is my no doesn't come from the mind. When we deconstruct, let's say, the Hollywood script that can be in any department of life, and especially also in relationships, they have like this box that has been created by Hollywood. This is a relationship. So either I'm single or I'm dead. Wait, we can burn it all and start from scratch. And then this moment of being lost, that's something I really wanted to bring into the space. When the universe gives you the handbrake, let's say, okay, this direction that I've been going in isn't working anymore. I need to slow down or even stop what I'm doing and recalibrate. Some visual that just came to me is like when you're drifting down in the ocean, you need to hit rock bottom in order to have orientation. And something
Totally.
that I really want to add is practice holding yourself in discomfort.
Yeah.
Practice allowing being lost.
Hmm.
When this is not working anymore, and I am desperately looking for what else can work for me. And like, yeah, I'm putting my altar, I'm putting my mantras, and I'm sitting there like, oh, now I need to find who I really am. It is not comfortable. And the answers will not come from trying hard. That's also something I needed to learn. That the more I want it now, the more I push it away. Because the
Hmm.
state of wanting and the state of having are vibrationally opposing each other.
Hmm.
And the the practice that I do and I did a lot more before I got more clarity, is really creating spaciousness for nothingness.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, how much can I be with my body if there is no answer, right? And then start with small things. It's when we follow our North Star, that sounds like, oh, I'm waiting for this divine calling that my purpose, like an apple, is in front of me, and then I just have to pursue this apple, right? It's
Yeah.
like not the way it works. Like for me, purpose is a direction, not a destination. It's alignment. How does my yes, how does my no feel? And practice that with little things, like I mentioned, pizza or pasta, or maybe gluten-free if you if you choose that. Which actually I'm on a gluten-free diet now, so that was like back in the day I would not be able to choose these two. Now I choose
Mhm.
neither. But like waking up in the morning, I have a note on my side table. How good morning, beautiful. How do you feel right now? What do you need right now? What do you really feel like doing?
Mm.
And on the backside, there's some reminders of the things that I already know about myself, like how I see myself. And this, again, slowing down and taking it one step at a time. I like to imagine walking in new moonlight. We have a new moon on Sunday. So it's pitch black. You are in nature on a new moon. It's black. You don't know anything. You can't see anything. And then you put a little torch on your head and you see 10 meters. And within these 10 meters, that can be I'm waking up in the morning. Okay, do I go for a walk now? Do I make myself breakfast? Do I sleep a little bit more? Whatever that might be in this 10-meter radius that you can see. Which one feels the lightest? And like water, like Bruce Lee, like be like water, follow what feels the lightest. Something
Mm.
that I mention a lot is basically all of us growing up in the Western world learned that success is hard, is difficult, that you need to push through obstacles and all that. So the complete opposite of the water energy, which is like, okay, actually, if something really works for me, it's effortless, it's easy. And the belief of like, "Ah, it can't be so easy. Life is not a fairy tale, right? What if it is? What if it can be? And I'm not talking like overnight success that can happen. Obviously, if you have like a divine insight or something that people report, but don't force that. Don't wait for that. Like, what is aligned right now, right here? And from this feeling of alignment, you're gonna attract more alignment and more alignment, and that speeds up. So that's something I wanted to add, like
Mhm.
holding yourself in discomfort and accept that you're lost. Don't
Mhm.
try to get unlost. The one thing that pushes you more into being lost is trying to get unlost.
Mhm.
And the second thing, start with little things. And in the here and now, what is my next step in these 10 meters? And then I walk these 10 meters with my torch, and then I see another 10 meters, and I can make the same thing, the same decision. I don't resonate anymore with this, like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? I find that a mind game that is really distracting me from the now. Because to be honest, like for example, now I'm in Vietnam. I was planning to still be in Bali. I had a plane ticket from Bali to Thailand, and now I'm here with my partner in Vietnam, and we're going to Georgia next. So my mind is like, oh yeah, now I lost this money for the visa, and I lost the money for the plane ticket, and uh, all the different things, and I have still some luggage in Thailand. So it doesn't make sense. Like from the rational point of view, my plan was kind of functioning, and I didn't execute it. So my mind is sometimes coming in and like, yeah, this doesn't make sense, but it doesn't have to. What makes sense, quote unquote, is it feels aligned to be here. I feel in the right place with the right people, doing the right things, right
Mhm.
in terms of aligned with me, not in terms
Aligned.
of moralistic judgment.
Yeah.
Um, you mentioned that you have other practical tools that you would like to bring into the space, and I'm super curious to hear them. I just really wanted to add these two things to the conversation.
Yeah, something I was gonna say about that also is how we make meaning of everything. And ultimately, when people feel lost, what meaning they make of that, right? They make it mean they're never going to get out of it. They make it mean it's bad, it's wrong. If we can elevate our experience with quote unquote being lost and just like, I am in a place of utter and limitless possibility. I am tuning in to the timeline that feels aligned for me right now, and I'm like allowing it to emerge. If we can play our way through the discomfort, if we can bring levity to this human experience, nothing is bad or wrong. We're never off path. We're never doing anything that is not, of support, because it's ultimately leading us to the same place. Something that would come through a lot for me when I was feeling this way is Spirit would say, how many different roads can you take to get to the grocery store? And I was like, I don't know, probably 10, 20. And they're like, exactly. Even if you make a turn that you feel like is not in alignment, you're still going to end up where you want to be if you just keep moving forward. If you don't make it mean, oh, I made a wrong turn. Not how many times do we do that? We get frantic. We're like, oh, I made a wrong turn, gotta turn around. And versus like, oh, okay, I went down this road. Interesting. I noticed this thing, the scenery over here is beautiful. Wow, I didn't anticipate I was going to go down this road. What can I learn? How can I grow? If we bring levity to these experiences, and even with the discomfort, how can you stay curious? Of like, wow, oh, this is like kind of crunchy, right? When we're like moving through something and there's like resistance, and we want to know, if we decide what things mean. And so we get to make the meaning of it. So I like to make things mean really fun things. I'm like, oh, wow, this means that I'm creating something really big right now and I'm on the cusp of a breakthrough. There's also being in the neutrality, of course, right? Of just like accepting what is and just being with the sensation for sure. But I also like to play and bring levity to the experience and allowing it to be like a fun game that I'm in, and bringing levity to the spiritual process, because it can feel like it's so serious all the time. We got to be in prayer, we got to be in devotion,
Mm.
we got to be in perfection, divine alignment, every action that we take, everything that we do. It's like, this is kind of exhausting. It is. So, in my opinion, in my experience, if we can let it be more playful in a game and be in the innocence and youthfulness of just like, oh, I went down this road and I realized this road wasn't the most supportive for the thing for me. And I'm learning so much. Like my mentor always tells me, like, oh, like this thing is happening for you. He's like, yes, like the flight's delayed. Yes. Oh my God. Like
Mm.
we don't know why these things are happening always, right? But we get to trust in that process. So I wanted to share that because I feel like that's so important in the spiritual world, is how we can make everything so unbelievably serious that we
Mm.
rob ourselves of the silliness and the simplicity of what it means to be human. Spirit has told me constantly, don't be so busy trying to be spiritual that you forget to be human, because being human is actually the most spiritual thing there is.
Definitely, yeah. Hooray to playfulness. Something I'm also still integrating. Again, German man math teacher in the past.
Yeah,
So as much in the seriousness in the mind as you can possibly be. That's my background, let's say. Um, and yes, like what you meant about we choose the meaning can sometimes also distract from or like the meaning and also the importance of things. And
mm-hmm.
something that might be really small might have a major importance, a butterfly effect, right? That we can't see now, possibly. And something that we give a lot of meaning to might be
Totally.
super irrelevant in a month's time. So, and something that feel like you mentioned, like missing a fly, something that feels like a failure or like something is not aligned. Actually, what makes it not aligned is our resistance towards it. If we like, that's what I'm experiencing. If something doesn't work out the way I planned, and then I still try to make it work and push through this wall that was put in front of me, this is where the discomfort, this is where the pain and the suffering goes. Um, if I'm like, okay, there's a wall, hello wall, and I go the other way.
Hmm.
Like a
Hmm.
little example, yesterday I wanted to go to an ATM, and then it was closed, and the road that I was driving, there were construction, so I was like, okay, maybe I should have taken another road, right? There would be have different roads to go there. I was like, yeah, but okay, I feel I need to be on this road. And there was like this asphalt. They just made new asphalt, so it was smelly. It was weird to drive there. And anyway, and then I was like slightly disappointed that the ATM was under construction as well. And then I went back. I could have also chosen another road, but my intuition was like, no, go the same like road that is still under construction. And then on some point I stopped at a restaurant, and just from an intuitive call. And then I went into the restaurant. I said, oh, there's an amazing rice field right in front of me. So I sat there and I ordered some food. And then there was a guy 2 tables away from me. And he said, hi. And I sat next to him. And we had an amazing conversation. He's coming to my event on Sunday. So, and this conversation gave me a lot. I was in a vibration of, let's say, healthy anger, because I really
Hmm.
had some challenges lately, and I was in my more like masculine activated state. Like, okay, today I just take action, and I execute, and that felt really good in that moment. But he really helped me to, because he was traveling. He's just here to basically find himself and to slow down and all these things. And he really reminded me of like, okay, just calm down. So it was like a perfect mirror and a nice connection and a beautiful conversation that we had. And I couldn't have assumed that at all, right? From trying to get to an ATM. And so just one random story out of many, when everything is welcome, right? If there is no right and wrong, or this worked out and this didn't work out, just like when this little obstacles come, like, okay, acknowledging them, moving along, and reminding myself in the now, like, okay, this didn't work, what feels most aligned right now to do as a result of that. Yeah, is there other things that come to you about, let's say, practicality? I really like this game.
Sure. Yeah, let me tune in again. So practicality for sacred success. I mean, this one also is really simple. I really resonate with like really there's an aspect to vision that I think is really powerful in bringing something into reality. But you mentioned, you know, I don't know what's going to happen in 5 years, a year from now. What I've recognized within myself too is like we are being invited to live really presently and moment to moment and not have so much control over our life. And ultimately, the vision that we're creating is important, but ultimately, what's most important about it is how we think we're going to feel, right? So instead of getting wrapped up in the 5 years down the road, just tune into the frequency. Like, what does freedom feel like
Mm.
in your body right now? What is wealth? $1 million. I'm planting $1 million in your bank account right now. What does that feel like? And some of you might contract and you notice, oh, okay, like, wow, I feel a little overwhelmed. Beautiful. That's information, right? It's information. When you tune into the vision of your life and you think about success or being on stage and you feel scared, information. But it's all frequency based, right? So that's what I'm getting, what I want to get at is ultimately something really practical is as you're creating success in your life, come back to the body. Feel into the frequency of what you want to create and don't get so wrapped up in like, I don't know the vision. I can't tell you how many people I work with that are like, I don't even know what I want anymore. I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know what I want anymore because they're getting so much on what it looks like. And because we are creating a whole new reality, Spirit tells me it's so far beyond what we could actually comprehend in this consciousness that it's so beyond what's even we even conceive as possible that we sometimes can't even visualize it totally. So feel the frequency of what you want to create as you're doing so, as you're calling in the client, feel the energy of the client coming in. not of the perfect marketing strategy, not like
Mm.
tune into the frequency of I am a lighthouse. And in this moment, I am making myself available to call in a client and feeling into that client coming into your field, feeling into it being a soulmate client with these types of qualities, somebody has you have beautiful chemistry with. So feeling that frequency and that energy and allowing it to come into your field and expand your capacity. And when you notice that there's a contraction or you notice there's something coming up, that's where the quote unquote work is. That's where you get to get curious and be like, ooh, I felt crunchiness around that. So you can do that. And I'll give you one more practical. And I like to keep things really simple. I know in the spiritual world, sometimes it's like we need like 25 steps for this whole thing. But ultimately, Spirit always tells me that a lot of the transmission that I have around these things are super simple. And that's what makes them really applicable. When I'm making decisions about my success, about my business, when I partner, when I take on projects, when I make investments, ultimately, something that's really simple is I come back to love. One of my favorite books is A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson. It is the simplest and most profound transmission of how to embody, how to live, how to create, and what energy to create from. So when I'm showing up for a conversation, when I'm creating something in the world, I ask myself, am I coming from love? Am I coming from fear? And it can be really easy to get caught up in like what, I do a lot of like internal family systems, right? I'm like, I got parts work, I got parts that are online, I got protectors, like all these things. But ultimately, how do we choose to come from love in
What's
every
the
moment?
what's the author's name again? Can you tell me?
Marianne Williamson.
I haven't read that
It
book
is
yet.
one of my favorite books. It is the all my all-time favorite book, and it's so simple because I actually believe spirituality is super simple. I believe all of this is incredibly simple, and I believe that there's a part of our ego that actually likes complexity because we like it feels like we've earned something. If
Yes.
I can chew on this thing, if I can do this thing and I have 25 steps, it's like we think we've earned it. When it's ultimately like, how can I attune right now to the frequency of love? How can I attune right now to the frequency of power? How can I bring in the energy of wealth? It's all frequency based and it's actually really, really, really simple. Doesn't mean it's easy. We have trauma, we have distortions, we have other people's nervous systems, we have triggers, we have programming, we have all of that. But when you get down to the real nitty gritty of these universal laws, they are incredibly simple. And when we make things like, I think Tony Robbins said, complexity is the enemy of execution. When we make things really complex, complexity is the enemy of execution. When we overcomplicate it, we get overwhelmed. When we get overwhelmed, we don't want to take action. When we don't take action, we feel disempowered. When we feel disempowered, we actually go into a state of depression and sadness. We feel confused, like, why can't I move forward in my life? So we're overcomplicating it,
Mhm.
right? Like, what's the energy I want to be in right now? It's a choice. All of this is a choice. And it's not always an easy choice. And sometimes we make the choice 400 times in one day. I'm choosing ease right now. There's been so many projects that I've taken on lately where I'm like, oh my God, I am seriously overwhelmed. I'm at my capacity. But overwhelm is a choice.
Mm.
I removed overwhelm from my vocabulary. I made a post about this the other week and everyone, like, I got a ton of mentions and comments about it because we are choosing the energy that we are in every single moment. That doesn't mean that the trigger doesn't come up and we're like, okay, I got to move through this emotion. But in a moment, I can choose. How do I want to feel? And in a moment, I can choose what's the perspective, what's the story I'm creating. And I know in the spiritual world, sometimes we get really feeling in the emotion, the processing, but ultimately, like there's a personal development aspect here that's important too, where it's like the choice, the personal leadership, the mindset, the perspective, the gratitude, right? We went really deep into our trauma, and sometimes there can be like this healer's trap where we're just always processing, we're always moving through emotions, and we've like needed that. We've needed to swing so hard, and now we're swinging back into the middle where it's like, okay, I can show up and I can hold my commitments and I can be a leader and I can make space for my emotions. I don't need to collapse when I'm moving through a process. Like, honestly, an hour before this call, I was moving through an emotion.
Mm.
I was moving through reaching my capacity with something. I was just like, all these projects I have, I'm like, wow, I'm like at my capacity. And a pattern of mine, if I'm like trying to reorganize, okay, maybe we should cancel. And that sometimes comes up for me. And I'm like, no, how can I create space for the emotion? Let the little one that I have in here know that I've got her. She's
Mm.
safe. Let my body know that I'm here. I'm taking care of it. I'm attuned. Even 5 minutes of connection, of attunement, of processing, of emotional intelligence work, you can shift. Okay, great. I've attuned to that. Now I'm making a choice. Now I'm coming back into my leadership. Now I'm coming back into my power. I'm holding my masculine firmness of like, I've made a commitment and I'm showing up for it.
Mhm.
So that's, I went on a little bit of a tangent, but ultimately these are practical ways of like choice. And every single moment we have a choice. What's the thing that I'm creating right now? Because we're creating our reality. And there will be emotions and there will be processes, but it's up to us how long we stay in the struggle, how long we stay in the suffering. We have tools. This is the time more than ever to utilize all of our tools.
Mhm.
We have created these communities. We have this ancient wisdom and tools for a reason. Now is the time for us to use it, for us to not collapse under pressure, for us to not collapse under the accelerated energy, for us to show up for ourselves, for our mission, for the moment.
Mm.
Sometimes the moment is calling for like, okay, I need to actually reorganize my schedule and make space for this. And sometimes it's really calling for, you know what? No, I committed. And every time I break a commitment with myself and it's not in integrity with me, I lose trust with myself. And as I lose trust with myself, I feel disempowered and I don't trust myself to do other things because it's a relationship that we have with ourselves. It's like if you had a parent that was always like, I'm going to be at this baseball game every Saturday and they stop showing up. You don't trust them. So we have that internal union with ourselves that we're reconciling. We were really masculine and we lived in this patriarchal society, hustle, culture, logic. Then we've swung really feminine. Okay, emotions, processing, healing, body, somatics. Now we're coming back and we're going,
Mhm.
now we're integrating the our inner union. And as we were talking about this for this conversation, that internal union is now a template that's actually being activated in humanity, where people in devotion to their feminine and their masculine and their creation and their sensitivity, all of it is coming together as a new imprint for the new human of humanity. That we are both human and spirit, earth and heaven, masculine, feminine. We have darkness, we have light, we have all of it. So our nervous systems are just getting ready to have the capacity to hold our multidimensionality, to hold our range, to hold the depth of our suffering and all of it and our success and our wild potential. Like
Mm.
that's actually what we're touching right now.
Love that. Yeah, and I love this swing that you mentioned. I totally resonate with that. I mean, I mentioned that I was like very much on the mind side and completely closed in my heart in the past, and then definitely have swung to the other direction of just like discovering what emotions actually are and what processing is and what beliefs are and all this. So hypnotherapy is something that helped me a lot and that I'm also facilitating and how every belief has a trauma as a root, and a trauma is nothing more, nothing less than a memory with emotional charge.
Yeah.
So, who chooses what I deserve? That's a question I love to ask people when they're struggling. Who chooses what you deserve? And that makes people realize, like, okay, there's something inside of me making a
Mm,
choice. And then also to not resent that, but to say, like, okay, you're at every given moment quoting Bashar here, always choosing what your belief system tells you is most beneficial for you and to find out where this is coming from. So if you want to change the reality, find out where that's coming from.
yeah.
And then again, with playfulness, with curiosity, with humor, this is like the three things I would like to invite more: play, humor, curiosity. And also through experimenting these like two sides of the pendulum, like the, and if you want to call it masculine, the clear um direction, yeah, more like the warrior energy, whatever. I feel emotions are coming up, but I'm just gonna do this now. The house is burning. I'm afraid. I'm still going inside. I'm saving people, right?
Yeah.
Or like, oh, something's coming up. Yeah, I've committed to this, but I'm just gonna feel this now.
Yeah.
The more we train the left and the right, the more we can make a choice in the moment. And what I also do, like what you said, yeah, little one, I got you. You know, like if I feel there's something that's really important for me right now and I want to show up, and yes, there is something that's coming up, maybe might be a process that wants to happen, and that's really urgent, then I'm just sitting with it for a few moments and I say, I see you, I validate you, and I will come back to you. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna abandon you.
Yep.
I leave you in a sacred healing space for now, and I will get back to you
Hmm.
and make a statement for myself. When will I schedule that? When will I create a spaciousness for that to occur? And that gives me usually the confidence and the groundedness to then do what I plan to do. Not always. Sometimes it's really also an integrity to yeah to cancel. And something that I recently discover more and more, can I allow people to be disappointed in me? That's something I've never
Mm.
allowed.
Hmm.
Like,
Mm.
especially growing up in Germany, everything is on time. Trains are on time. People come 5 minutes before an appointment. By the way, I so appreciate that you were like on the clock today. My German heart was like, ah, yes. Reliability is a big yes still for me. And and I always felt that that's an integrity with me. And lately, I'm also observing, like, okay, how much is that really me, and how much is that my fear reflected of like I can't disappoint people. So if I'm
Yes.
getting quote unquote mad at people for not showing up, for not being reliable, for not being consistent, it's actually myself being afraid what happens if I disappoint people,
Hmm.
and putting that as a possibility also. Okay, can I hold space for that? Someone being disappointed. I totally get that. That makes sense. Like I said, I will do it, and I don't. I totally understand that you're disappointed. You have every reason to be disappointed. At the same time, I hold myself accountable to my truth, and that doesn't feel in alignment anymore. So
Yeah.
can both be true at the same time?
Hmm. Hmm. I love that. Thank you for sharing. Something that I've been exploring within myself too is I think a real indicator of emotional intelligence is being able to hold duality.
Mm.
And I think that that's what we're navigating right now is real, true, this thing can exist and this thing can also exist. And that can be a really challenging thing for some people because it goes against everything that we've been taught. You know, be a good girl. You're a bad boy. You're being punished. That's not right. That's wrong. Don't do that. Sit down. It's like very, this is a good human. And so we're really deconstructing what it means to be human right now, what it means to be good person. And really, I was just in a conversation with a coaching group yesterday. Listening, we were talking about like giving and taking energy
Mm.
and how it's not right or wrong. Sometimes, like, we are in an energy, we're in like a scarcity and we want to have a need met. And sometimes we're in a lot of generosity, but ultimately, it's not that it's good or bad. It's not that it's right or wrong. And the more we live in these very limited constructs, the more we actually rebel and want to break free. I don't know about you, but the last week or two, I can't tell you how deeply I have felt this like this need for freedom on like every level. And every person I'm talking to is like, ah, I just want to claim the abundance that I've been wanting to have. I just want to break free and like be a woman and be wild and like all
Mm.
we're all on this path to freedom and like what that actually means for us. And there is this like good girl, bad girl, bad boy, like all of this imprint that's really also breaking things down. But it is there all is also things around integrity, right? So it's like all of this. How does all of this exist? How do we play in the land of like all of this? Because I appreciate people who are timely and there's compassion for humanness, right? So how can like all of it coexist? I don't know that we have it all figured out, but I think that we're the generation who's creating that right now.
Mm. Mm. Since you were asking, maybe also to bring the conversation, I feel like the energetic wave is kind of coming down, and also to honor time. I would love to keep talking with you. We could do this for hours, I'm sure.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, for me. in the last weeks, it was not so much about freedom. It was more the duality of feeling the deepest love and connection and belonging that I ever had,
Mm.
and the deepest bitterness, resentment, and I call it my Gollum part, from Lord of the Rings, this like ugly part that is like disappointed in everyone and hates everything.
Yeah.
And it's a really it's a really hard energy to hold. So I had even dreams about it that were like disgusting. Like really this feeling of I can't trust anybody.
Mm.
Um like a deep bitterness, hate, resentment towards the universe and every human on this planet. And I don't belong here. I want my spaceship and go away again. Like this kind of energy was also there. And I was obviously resisting that in the beginning. It was very unpleasant because in that intensity, it hasn't come up ever, as far as I remember. And when I could really hold that with compassion, my partner was also really supportive there and could just be with me in it and just validate it for its existence. And then it could shift back into, okay, I'm always held, I'm always connected, I'm always loved.
Yeah.
And the more I allow this, the more this can be there as well. The more I resist this will never happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. As absurd as that sounds. Like like maybe last thing I want to mention, like for me, ascension is like in this triangle, like opening the heart is like in the
Mm.
beginning, if the heart is closed, we don't feel at all. And then it goes up and like up, we feel more pleasure, more connection, more love, and more pain. It's like, it's uncomfortable. And then we have a choice. Okay, do we go back down or do we go back up? And then, there's more belonging, there's more connection, there's more alignment, and there's more bitterness, there's more anger, there's more sadness, more fear that we can experience. And this never stops. And ultimately, it just comes all together in
Hmm.
unity, right? And through once again, playfulness and curiosity and non-resistance and humor, this can, in my personal path at least, it happens when when I don't resist it, when I zoom out. I do this experiment often that I just zoom out like Google Earth perspective, and I see myself like, okay, I chose this life as this character, but I'm more than that. But can I be fully there and just enjoy the ride? Like maybe it's not always pleasant, but happiness and pleasure in the moment are also two different things. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Hmm.
Any
Yeah, I really
last words
resonate with
from
that.
you?
Yeah, I would just say I really deeply resonate with that. If we try to block ourselves from feeling pain, we also inhibit ourselves from feeling pleasure, right? It's our capacity to be with life, right? So
Mm,
if we think about like the wideness of it, it's like here's sometimes when we're numb, we're like this. Okay, but if we give ourselves space to feel the pain, we also give ourselves the space to feel the pleasure. And as we widen our capacity, the deeper we feel, like the tree roots, right? The deeper we allow the tree roots to go, the higher it can go. Something that I've been contemplating a lot is there is so much conversation around ascension. How do we expand? How do we grow? How do we reach our potential? Ultimately, we also have to ground and
mm,
descend and really allow ourselves to anchor into the earth, to be physically in this body. This is the vehicle for ascension. This is the
mm,
vehicle. We're looking at it. This body that we have, this is the vehicle. So popping out of it, disassociating, living in the reality that's not totally here is ultimately not ascension. We give ourselves the gift of expanding by allowing ourselves to go deeper. So this is like the pain pleasure thing, right? The deeper we allow ourselves to go, the taller, the wider, the more expanded our awareness can become. And so, something I'll just leave people with is just having that visual representation that if you are on a path to enlightenment, if you are on a path to your potential, if you are on a path to ascension, Remember that being a human, that being physically in this world, tending to this body, listening to this body, being with other people, recognizing that your physical body is the vehicle for this transformation gives you access. It's such an organic, sophisticated, ancient technology, this body.
Mhm.
Like like what our pineal gland does, like how DMT releases, like what happens when we cut ourselves and our body rebuilds. Like, are you kidding me?
Mhm.
This is the craziest technology there is. And yet we're trying to sometimes escape it. Like, no, nothing against the medicine community, but we're always like, oh, just more medicine. Like, I need the
Mhm.
visualizations. I
Mhm.
believe in healing. I believe in all the plant allies. And how are we trying to escape, not recognizing that this is an internal game, that our internal landscape that in you verse, right? The universe, you in verse, going in to the universe is inside of you. Like all of the answers are inside of you. You were made of the stardust, of the leaves, of the soil, of the earth. I mean, when you look into
Mhm.
somebody's eyes, how you can just literally see the universe in somebody's eyes. It's utterly breathtaking. So, being a human is the most spiritual thing there is. This body that we have, the way we listen to it, the way we take care of it, is actually our vehicle for ascension. This ancient technology that we have accessible to us is the path, is the way. There's no escaping that. This is ultimately the greatest gift that we have been given. And it really offers us the remembrance that God is emanating through this vehicle in every expression, in every moment, in every flaw, in every word, in everything that we do, and everything that we are. This is the divine communicating through us, and that is the most sacred thing.
Oh,
Mhm.
man, shit.
Yeah.
Hmm. Thank you for coming here today.
Mm,
Really enjoyed our conversation.
hmm.
One little last quote of Bashar, if you allow.
I love Bashar, so yes, bring it.
Because you mentioned enlightenment, people looking for enlightenment, and something I borrow from him a lot is lightening up on yourself is the path
Mm,
to enlightenment.
yeah. Oh, I haven't heard him say that, but I love that.
Hmm.
Hmm.
On that note, thank you once again. Maybe we can do this again sometime.
Yeah, I would love that.
Um,
Thank
yeah.
you. Thank you so much for having me. The way that you weave this conversation and brought things back in. And I
Hmm.
really love podcasts where there is a two-way conversation. I love
Hmm.
learning about the host and being a part of something that we're weaving together versus just being interviewed. So thank you for showing up in your heart. Thank you for leading this conversation and also meeting me in the vulnerability.
Hmm. Thank you. Have an amazing rest of your day and good night, probably.
Yeah, it's getting late. Yes, it's morning just by you, huh?
Was it for you around 9 p.m. or something?
It's 7 p.m.
7 p.m. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
Yeah.
for me, it's 8 in the morning. So I'm, I'm gonna get started
Mm.
on my day.
Yeah.
Right. Blessings for your night. And thank you again.
Yeah. Thank you so much.